What's up guys, I'm BTC. Hanzo is getting some really big changes. Scatter Arrow will be removed and it's being replaced by not one, but two different abilities. We're gonna get to Hanzo in just a second, but first I need to clear up some bad info that Blizzard gave us in the patch notes yesterday. So this is in regard to Sombra, her Opportunist, which is her passive ability. It said, now activates when enemies' health bars are less than 100%, up from 50% health. So this made me, and pretty much everyone else, think that you were going to be able to see all the enemies through the walls. This is not the case. So Jeff Goodman cleared it up on the official Overwatch forums. He said, our patch note for her passive wasn't quite right. We're going to fix it very soon. Let me clarify what exactly is changing with it. On live, her passive actually does two separate things. One, it lets you see enemies through walls if they are less than half health, and two, it lets you see the enemy health bars above their heads if they are less than half health, regardless of if you had damaged them or not. We're changing number 2 so that she can see health bars if they are injured at all, but number 1, wall hack, still requires less than 50% health to trigger. This allows her to have more information once she gets behind her enemies to plan the best way to attack. If you notice, this is also something Mercy gets when using Valkyrie, and they both work the same way now. So to put it quite simply, we thought that this was going to be a massive buff that allowed Sombra to see injured enemies anywhere on the map, and instead it's an incredibly minor change that will have almost no impact on anything. Alright, let's get down to business and talk about the Hanzos. Is his viability gonna go up, or is it gonna continue to stay real low? As it looks right now, Hanzo is almost definitely losing the Scatter Arrow, but he's getting two new abilities in place of it. So the first one is for mobility and escape, and the second one is just for raw damage. Now, we're going to talk about the mobility one first. This is something that I've been mentioning in all of my previous Hanzo videos. The main reason why the character is not considered viable in the upper brackets and in tournaments in particular is because the character has no way to really deal with anybody that dives on him. If you look at the other DPS characters that are considered strong or viable in the upper brackets and in tournament, you'll notice something in common. They all have either an escape ability or they have some sort of crowd control. And that's something that Hanzo has been missing. So regardless of the fact that Hanzo is capable of putting out a crazy amount of damage, it really didn't matter because he could just get dived and taken out really easy. The fact that he could wall climb didn't really do anything because the people that were going after him would be like a Winston, a Diva, or a Genji or something. So Hanzo's wall climb didn't really do anything to help that. So what they're giving Hanzo is a horizontal leap. I've been calling it a disengage, and Jeff Kaplan actually called it disengage as well when he was talking about it. So this is going to allow Hanzo to basically get some space between him and whoever is coming after him. So it's going to work kind of similar to how Genji's does. So Jeff Goodman kind of elaborated a little bit more. Let me read that real fast. The way we have his leap working right now in our internal builds is that it's a double jump much like his brother, but with a couple key differences. Firstly, it is mostly a horizontal leap, and it's pretty fast, unlike Genji's vertical leap. Secondly, it has a small cooldown, which is necessary considering the amount of mobility it gives Hanzo now. Also, to clarify, you will leap towards the direction you are pressing, not the direction you are facing. This is the exact same control scheme we use for Tracer's blinks, so think of it like that. Make no mistake, this mobility is going to be incredibly powerful for Hanzo. His other new ability is strictly for damage, and it's more of a direct replacement of Scatter. So let me read that. It says, for his new ability called Volley, we're still iterating on it. For example, we've already changed the number of arrows fired from 5 to 6 and lowered the damage per arrow. Currently, it lasts up to 6 seconds and allows you to fire about 3 arrows per second, up to 6 total. Each arrow fires at full power, but deals only 80 damage instead of his normal 125. There is no charge time while in this mode. If you hold the button down, you will fire the arrows in full auto mode. Now I know some people are going to be upset about losing the Scatter Arrow, but this new volley ability is way better than the scatter will be. First of all, it removes all of the randomness of the ability altogether. And second, it puts more control in the player, so if the player is better at the game, if they have higher accuracy, then they can be significantly more effective with this. Where with the scatter arrow, you basically just aim it at someone's feet and hope that it scatters into their entire character and takes them out. With volley, however, the player's skill decides where every single one of those arrows goes. So let me explain this a little bit more. When he says that each arrow fires at full power, he's talking about the speed and the distance that it will travel, not the damage that it can deal, because the damage for every arrow has been reduced from 125 to 80. Now, this is a pretty significant reduction in the damage for each of those arrows, but the ability itself can still do a tremendous amount of damage. How much are we talking? Well, if every single one of those 6 arrows is a body shot, we're talking 480 damage. If every one of those 6 arrows is a headshot, that's 960 damage. Keep in mind, of course, that 960 damage would require 6 consecutive headshots, and even the best players in the world have a hard time doing that. Overall, the volley damage is going to be a lot more spread out and a lot more controlled than the scatter. Rather than just putting a truckload of damage into one particular enemy, you can now have a much more controlled amount of high burst damage among multiple enemy players. These two changes, I think, have the potential to bring HANZO up to the point where he is actually comparable with other DPS like Soldier 76 and McCree. He's not going to be useful in all of the exact same situations because obviously their kits are a little bit different, but HANZO is no longer going to be just kind of a bad version of other DPS. The extra mobility combined with the controlled burst damage from volley is going to be just crazy powerful, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if we see HANZO actually make it into the meta for the first time ever. We can expect to see these changes on the PTR within the next 2 weeks. What do you guys think about all of this? Let me know down in the comments. Also, don't forget to check out my Discord server. Follow me on Twitch and Twitter. The links for that stuff is down below. Thanks for watching. Remember, always blame the controller because it's never your fault. Also, special thanks to all my Patreon supporters for helping to make this all possible. If you'd like to see what kind of cool rewards you can get for supporting the channel, check the links on screen and down below.